Hello everybody, and we're back once again, and today I am going to put these parts together in the part design and actually get a feel of what this is going to look like in the real world. So we're going to be using the part design, the draft workbench and the part workbench to do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is point you off to another video, because I've actually covered some of this in a previous video before, and it's worth looking at this video, and it explains about the draft workbench and using the draft workbench with the part design to actually move parts when part workbench. And we're going to go over this again in this video because it's vital for these, because we have to, now we've got all these objects on screen, we have to make these compound objects so we can actually allow for them to be moved, rotated, scaled, etc, etc. That's essential for actually doing this in this the part design. So at the moment I'm in the draft workbench where I shouldn't be. Jump into the part design. So we have our parts. We have a lock wheel, we have a pin wheel, and we have a Maltese cross / Geneva wheel. For now on, I refer to this as Maltese cross. Well, say for now on, I've been referring to that for over these videos as Maltese cross. So that's stop wobbling and waffling, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so let's have a look. So I am going to want to first have a look to see what we have. So I first want to make this lock wheel the same size as this pin wheel the same size as this lock wheel. And to do that, I just want to adjust the padding on there. So I am going to double click, and the pad is highlighted, which is good. Yep. So let's double click our pad, or single click our pad. At the moment it's sitting there at 20, so I'm going to make that 30, same as all the others, and that will bring it up to the actual lock wheel itself. Now, what I want to do is that everything's embedded into each other at the moment, which I don't want. I want to bring this lock wheel up to sit on top of this pin wheel, and I want the same to do with the Geneva wheel to sit on top of the pin wheel as well. So to do that, we'll use our draft workbench, but before we do that, we have to actually make these into compound objects, otherwise we won't be able to move them. If we try moving these from our draft workbench, let me just show you. I want the front. Try to move any of these objects now. Clicking move, clicking on an item, and trying to move it anyway. You can see it does move, but the minute I click, it just pops back into position. So to resolve that, go over to the part workbench. Sorry, not the part workbench, yeah, not the part design. So we're in the part workbench now, and I am going to click on my top view again so I can actually see it. Front, bottom, rear. Oh, there it is. Oh, we're already there. Okay, so yep. So make this. I'm going to first make this one a compound object. So I'm going to click on it, and the pin wheel with our pad is highlighted, which is what we want. We're in the part workbench. Go to part, and we go to compound. Make compound object. So that's made that into a compound object now. So if I press Alt, we can still see the lock wheel sitting there inside. And we're going to do the same with our lock wheel. So click on our lock wheel. Let's make sure our lock wheel has been selected. Yeah, so that's been selected there. And go to part and compound and make compound. So that's good. And let's do the same with the Geneva or / Maltese cross. Click on Geneva wheel, and part, compound, make compound. So these are all compound objects, and what will happen is that they'll be placed down here. So that's our pinwheel, that's our lock wheel, as you can see it's highlighted, and there's our, what's that not showing? That's our Geneva wheel. So I'm going to rename these. So Geneva, take the caps lock off. Geneva. Would call this Maltese cross, but I don't know how to spell it. Compound. And this one was our lock wheel. Lock wheel compound. And last but not least, our pinwheel. Pinwheel compound. So those are all done now. So those are all compound objects. So if we jump over to our draft and click on front view, and we can start moving these now. So I'm going to click on my Geneva slash Maltese cross. Click move, click on here, and I'm just going to move this. See where my problem's moving now at the moment? Just hit Z on your keyboard because I want to move it on the Z axis. So hit Z, so we lock down the Z axis, and we're going to place this, and yeah, up there, and it didn't move. Now why didn't that move? It's because I didn't have the compound object selected itself. So let's try that again. Hit Z, and we'll move, out loud. Right, click on that, hit Z, and move it up. And it's still not moving. Why are you not moving? So what I'm going to do is, that's invisible. Toggle visibility. And there we go. And can I go to the Geneva wheel and toggle active body, hide selection, toggle visibility. That's interesting. That Geneva wheel's only got that bit there. So let's hide. So we've got a bit of a problem here. I don't know the reason why. Let's toggle visibility on there as well. So it looks like lock wheel, toggle, toggle out of it. Let's go back to the part. Right click on that. Toggle visibility on lock wheel. And we'll do the same to, so looks like the Geneva wheel, that compound on the Geneva wheel hasn't worked. I don't know the reason why that is, so I'm just going to delete that compound object and have a look at the rest. So I see. So I've undone that. So we look at the Geneva wheel, and you can see the compound object. We have no pad in here, but there is a pad in these. So she's gone and padded. So that's strange, isn't it? So there's no pad in there. So let's have a look back at our Geneva wheel. Well, there is a pad in there. So why didn't that take? Is it because I had the sketch selected when I tried to make that Geneva Wheel into a compound object? I don't know, but I'm gonna delete that. Gonna leave those there, and I'm going to select the Geneva Wheel. And I'm in the part design, and let's try that again. Part, compound, make compound. Ah, that's better. So if we go down to here, compound 2, it should have the Geneva Wheel, and it should have a pad. There we go. So I don't know the reason why that happened, but I'm going to actually delete that and understand the reasons why. Because if we understand the reasons why, we know we don't have to do it again, or try not to do it again. So we'll have a look at our Geneva Wheel. Got a pad there. Now, did I select here and then go to part, compound, make compound? So look. Yes, we did. So make sure when selecting the actual compound object, selecting the object to make compound, that you don't select the sketch. So let's get rid of this compound object. Go back up to the Geneva Wheel, select the body of the Geneva Wheel, and then create a compound object out of that. So part, compound, make compound, and we'll have a look. Geneva Wheel, pad, absolutely brilliant. So that's all good. So thank you, FreeCAD. We've actually got there now. Let's rename this to Geneva Wheel compound. And now we can go to our front view and actually move this in our design, our draft, sorry. So jump to a draft, and now we've got the move here, and we should be able to click on this and click on the Z axis and move it into position. So about there. That's better. So that's moved into position now. And I'm going to do the same for the lock wheel as well. I'm just going to double check the lock wheel to make sure it's got the padding in and everything. That's good. And can't actually see that lock wheel at the moment, so I'm going to just swing this around and click on the lock wheel. Click on the lock wheel, click on move, and just click part of the lock wheel so it goes. You can see some of the lock wheels actually showing through the actual pinwheel there. So we can actually click on that, hit Z, and move this into position. And I'm just looking at the Z axis. I'm going to go for 61 for the start so I can actually move this in position from the front view. So at the moment it's above, so let's move this down. Move this. Well, hit Z and move this into position. So that's moved into position nicely now. So I'm pressing the Alt key to have a look and see what's happened. So yeah, so that's nicely in position now. So if we're thinking about printing this to how it would look like on a piece of material in front of you, then we're going to need some actual dowels in here to allow all this to be connected up. To add the dowels, we're going to use the cylinder, and I'm going to place 3 cylinders on screen and connect them up to these objects. And we're going to use the part workbench to actually do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into the part workbench, which I have here, and I'm going to click cylinder. Now the cylinder has been added, but you can't really see it on screen, but it is there. If we zoom in, it's this tiny little thing here. There it is. So the cylinder is there. It's just a bit small. So we need to jump into the draft, and what we're going to do is resize this. So if I click on the resize tool, even called the scale tool, and I'm going to select the middle of the cylinder, and now if I look over here, I've got the scale factors here, and I'm going to leave it as create a clone, because if I go to modify original, it's not going to actually do it for the actual cylinder itself. So remember that I'm going to create a clone for this. And what we need to do is first stick on uniform scaling, so each time we move one of these, it'll increase it by that factor. So we've got 2 across the X, Y and Z axis. So if we increase this up and keep on going until we get something that more or less fits that hole. I think that will do us actually. It's too big, so 10, so that's okay. So I'm going to have that for the time being, and I am going to zoom out a second. I haven't clicked OK yet. I'm just going to zoom out and just move this about a bit and have a look. Actually, I think that'll do us fine. I was going to make this longer by unticking the uniform and just increasing the Z axis a bit like this, but I'll just do that. Yeah, so that's all good. So OK that. And the next thing I'm going to do is double click on scale. See, it's created a new object down here. It's hidden as our original cylinder. Create a new object for scale, and I'm just going to grab the blue arrow and move that into position around about there, just proud, so I know there's something in there. So that's one cylinder done. OK that, and I'm going to go back to the top view, and I'm going to is that in position? Yeah. Go back to the top view, and I'm just going to press shift to move this over. So I've hit shift and I'm just moving my mouse to move this in position. It may differ depending on what setting you have down here, but I'm on touchpad because I'm on a laptop. And I'm going to do the same. So I'm going to go back into the part design, into the part workbench, and create another cylinder. At the moment, actually, I'm going to rename these so I don't get confused on which ones they are. So this is the Maltese cross cylinder. Let's name it Maltese. Maltese. Is that how you spell Maltese? Yeah, I do. Cross cylinder. I do. And I'm going to rename this Maltese cross cylinder there as well, and that's a scale. That's one that's visible on the screen. So we've got our lock wheel compound. Rename compound. Got a lock wheel compound, Geneva wheel, the pin wheel, the Maltese cross cylinder, and the Maltese cross cylinder. That's scaled there. Okay, and I'm going to rename that as well to bring everything into right click, rename. I do apologise if this is spelt wrong. So they're consistent. There we go. So I'm going to place another cylinder now, and remember this is going to be hidden, so let's place a cylinder somewhere. Let's click it. Okay, it's probably embedded in here, so I'm going to click it, and I'm going to go to the draft, and I'm going to go, actually I'm going to double click it, and that's it, so I can move it now, so I know where it is. Let's just OK that, double click, and I'm going to move that into position. I'm going to try to move it into position. Why is it not moving into position? Oh, there we go. And move that up so I can see whereabouts it is. I do for the moment, and I'm going to scale that. So make sure it's selected, and hit the scale tool. Click on it. Uniform scaling again, and I'm just going to bring this up to gain to about 10 or 210, and click OK. And that disappeared. Why did that disappear? There's the scale. Okay, so we have an issue now. Oh, there it is. What's it doing over there? Right, so I'm going to use the fit the whole of the contents on screen. Don't know why it's placed it over there, but we'll move that into our sketch. Sorry, into our model, and okay, that. Let's try moving it again. Having real problems trying to move this. I don't know the reason why. Let's spin this around. Shrink it. Move it that way. Can't move it that way for some reason. Let's just spin this around again. Oh, I see. Okay, so let's move this up. There we go, and we should be able to move that. I really just want to move. Sometimes this program can be so frustrating. That's in position, and oh, that's because it was below the object itself. So if it's below the object, I can't actually move because the object must get in the way. So I've got to bring. I've got myself in a right old pickle now. Yeah, so I've got to bring that up so we can see it. So these are above the object now, the handlers. Move that into position, and then let's go to front view and move that into space. There we go, and move this down. There we go. Right, that's all good. In fact, I'm going to move that to there. Okay, that, and I am going to move that one up to around about the same. There we go. Okay, that. So those are now in position. So we've got an axle for our Maltese cross and an axle for our lock and pin wheel. Now we just got to get a cylinder in here as well, and this cylinder has to be attached to here, and I'll show you how to do that. It's not a problem at all. So the first thing we're going to do is go off into our parts. Actually, so I've got to rename this. Rename that to pin wheel axis. There we go, call it axis. And I'm going to call that one axis as well. So all good there. And I can't actually see what I'm doing, so I'm going to turn the light on, bear with me. I'm not a touch typist. There we go. Right, I can see now. Sorry about that. Right, let's have a look. So the next thing I want to do is put a cylinder in here, and I'm going to try to copy. Can I copy this? Such objects have dependency to unselected objects. Unselected objects, do you want to copy them? No. And right click, come on, that's it, paste. We've got pin wheel axis 2, which will be going into here, and this is going to be the lock wheel pin. So that's another way of doing that. This is creating the cylinder each time, and what I'm going to do is just move that up. So I want that to sit on top of the actual pinwheel itself, and I'm just going to make sure that if I click top, is in position. Now I'm wondering, spin this around, where does, to the bottom, where does that sit? Does that sit? Of course. Right, let's see if I can move that through the bottom a minute. That's better. So our handle is in the bottom. So I want to. It's good. So let's just move that so it's more or less in the middle of that that hole. So that's good. It's more or less done. So that is very cool. Okay, so that's done. So what I'm going to do now is jump over to the part workbench, and I'm going to join this with the actual pinwheel itself. So I can use this little tool here, Connect Objects tool. So embed object, cut out for object, or connect objects. Already said about that one now. So this one by default is on connect objects. So I'm going to go for the embed one. So if I click on embed objects, so it says select base object, then the object to embed and invoke the tool. So I'm going to select the base object, which is the, no, accidentally, let's get rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to select the base object, and then I'm going to select the cylinder. You have to press the control, so to select them both. So you can see they're selected there. So what I did there was I just clicked on one, held down the control, and clicked on the other. Now it says select the base object first. So I'm going to select the base object first, which is that one, which is the pinwheel. Select the pin and embed. And now those are embedded. So if I click on this, I should see that I can, that was confusing because that's over there. I can move this about now. They are both embedded into each other, which is good, exactly what I want. Let's move that back. And I also want to do the same. Click OK on that one. I also want to do the same with this and the pinwheel and the lock wheel to embed those two together. So click on our lock wheel, hold down control, click on our pinwheel, and make sure they are selected in here. So I've selected the lock wheel and the embed, and hopefully we'll be able to embed those as well. So that's all embedded now. Double click on the embedded one, and there you go. So that's all embedded into one object now. So that's good. It's all good. So let's rename this one. So this is pin wheel. I'm going to say pin lock wheel combined. Actually, embedded. So that's good. So that's all good. So if I open that one up, you can see that we've got the embedded item, which was our pin wheel compound, and our lock wheel, and our lock wheel has been embedded in there as well. So lock wheel has been embedded with the previous embed we did to combine it as one solid part, which is all good. So the good thing now is that I can actually build some animation around here and have this spin, and well, try to make this wheel spin as well to show how these two work together. This is the only reason that I'm doing this. It's just to have a look, basically have a play with what we've built and see it rotating before we actually go and create a path for the actual cutting of this to put it onto a piece of material in the physical world rather than the digital world. So the next thing for this is animation.